Today we're with Bryan, Joyce, and George Morrill of EMCAP Lending. Bryan, can you tell me who is EMCAP?
EMCAP Lending is what's called a private hard money lender. We are an affiliate of the Prakashani Companies, which is a second-generation real estate investment company out of Cranston, Rhode Island.
And as a private hard money lender, we specialize in short-term first mortgage loans, financing renovations, construction, and commercial bridge loans. If you want to get into the fix and flip business, you should be calling us here at EMCAP Lending.
Help me understand, what is hard money?
Sure. Hard money is just an alternative to bank financing on investment properties. It's really an asset-based loan. So unlike you go to a bank who's going to underwrite you on your tax returns and your W-2 income, we only dig into the value of the collateral, the real estate that we're lending on. So we're not going to ask you for your tax returns, bank statements, and our credit score minimum is only 625, which is much lower than what a bank would allow.
George, I understand that you're a little bit more expensive than a bank. Help me understand that.
Well, yes, one other thing about hard money lending, our hard money loans, is that we have no prepayment penalties. So if you can get a project done in 3 to 6 months, you can pay off the loan with no penalties for getting it done early. So that results in a lot less interest than you'd be paying to a bank.
Right. And banks will typically, like we said, banks will usually want an appraisal, which can cost you money. They might want inspections, legal costs are higher with banks. So while the interest rate is lower, if you're not borrowing for 30 years, this is, 6 to 12 month loan. The opportunity cost of the money is greater to be able to just go with a hard money lender.
And we make the draw process a lot easier. Banks can really put investors through the ringer to try to get the money that they have held back for construction.
So why would someone use hard money?
As we mentioned before, the main thing is the speed to close and the ease of getting the capital. We use a common sense approach to underwriting. We look at the assets ourselves as experienced lenders. We can also look at deals that don't fit into the box. Banks like things that fit all their parameters. We can look at alternatives on projects that don't necessarily fit into a bank box.
The example I would give is a recent loan that we're looking at. It's a 20-unit apartment building that's vacant, and banks just don't like vacant properties, whether it's multifamily or commercial. But we can do a bridge loan on that just off of the projected rental income. It'll allow the borrower to stabilize the property during our bridge loan and then go to a bank for a long-term loan to hold it. But we're at least used as the bridge when other lenders just won't do it.
What are the costs of hard money?
Interest rates can range from 9 to 14%, depending on who you're dealing with. Points can range from 1 point to 5 points, depending, again, who the lender is and the strength of the deal.
I'd just like to add, I think people get scared by the interest rate of hard money, the interest rates of hard money. They hear 11, 12%, and they're comparing it again to those 30-year mortgages down in the 2s and 3s. It's not apples to apples. You're really trying to compare. The cost would be, what are the origination points, legal fees, does your lender have an appraisal? The interest rate, whether it's 10% or 12% over 6 months, is irrelevant on a short-term deal.
Bryan, tell me, why EMCAP versus other hard money lenders?
The main reason I would say for EMCAP is we're a balance sheet lender. What that means is we're lending with our own capital. Most of our competitors, or a good chunk of our competitors, what they do is they package up the loans and then they sell them on the secondary market. So you're not getting a real direct lender in that case. Being a direct lender that we are, we don't need appraisals, we don't need your tax returns, we don't need your bank statements.
Just to add to that, our approvals are all made in-house. We're backed by the Prakashani Company, a second-generation real estate company that has over 60 years of experience and has done over $10 billion in transactions. You're going to be dealing directly with very experienced loan officers that know the local markets very well. So when you call us and talk about a deal, Bryan and I are going to understand what you're talking about, and we're going to be able to discuss the deals with you and give you an experienced loan officer's take on whether a deal makes sense or not.
That's right. George and I have both been in this business for, what, George, 12 or plus years, right?
Yeah,
12 plus years.
20 years.
And I've done, myself personally, I've done 24 fix and flips, condo conversions, and other developments myself. I've borrowed from a handful of hard money lenders. What drew me to EMCAP is the process and the backing of the Prakashani Companies.
One thing also to add is we try to make the process as simple as possible with as little paperwork as possible and with as little cost up front as we possibly can. One thing that we do that a lot of hard money lenders don't do is we only charge one of our points up front and we put one on the back if it's a 2-point deal. That allows less closing costs for the borrower, and with no appraisals, that's another fee that they're not going to be paying. There's even other hard money lenders out there that have processing fees and other fees that are kind of buried into the loan that don't show up. They may be offering lower prices, as Bryan said, but they have a lot of hidden fees that you're not going to see immediately unless you dig into the details.
And if someone comes to EMCAP and needs a loan for 12 or 13 months, but they happen to finish the renovation and the project in 3 months and they sell the property, is there a penalty when they want to pay you off early?
No, we don't have any prepayment penalties. So exactly, if they use the loan for 5 months, they've only paid interest for 5 months.
The other advantage of hard money and with EMCAP is that we can have flexible terms. So we can make the loan fit the investor's needs rather than the investor having the project need to fit into our terms.
Real estate market is hot. I want to get in it, but I'm up against a lot of cash buyers and my credit's got a couple of hiccups. I'm at a 630. Is that going to affect me? Can I get approved by EMCAP?
Yes, you could get approved with EMCAP. We have a minimum credit score of 625. Credit's really not what we're looking at. We're really looking at the value of the asset that they're buying. Based on the experience that Bryan and I have in this market, we can get an idea very quickly if a project's going to work and if you're paying the right amount for it. So that helps we can get you approved in less than 48 hours.
So Bryan, what's the approval process if this can happen that quickly?
You would reach out to a loan officer, myself or George. We would gather some paperwork like a budget, personal financial statement, and some details about the transaction. We do our own underwriting here in-house. George and I do the underwriting as well. We submit it to our loan committee and it's approved typically in 2 to 3 days, and then we can close it in as early as 7 to 10 days.
And to add to that, the approval process doesn't go through the painstaking process of a bank. I had an example today. A borrower called me and said he had been trying to get approval through a bank and needed to send all 8 pages of their bank statements for the 6 months. And it can be a real torturous process of getting approved through a bank when we're never going to ask you for your bank statements.
George, EMCAP lending is in the forefront of several states. Can you give me an example of a recent transaction?
Yeah, I would love to. We recently did a fix and flip for a single family in Falmouth, Massachusetts. Falmouth is a hot town on the Cape. So we were able to approve this borrower in 72 hours and funded it in 2 weeks. What he did was he purchased a single family for $375,000. He did an extensive renovation of $275,000, and he was able to resell the property fairly quickly for $800,000. That's the beauty of working with EMCAP. We are going to be as responsive as can be, and since we do everything in-house, we can get them true answers within 72 hours at the most. Usually it's 48.
So Bryan, give me some examples of some loan transactions and typical loan sizes for EMCAP lending.
Our loan size range goes from $150,000 up to $4 million. That's our stated range at the moment. However, we can go above that on a case-by-case basis. We just closed one in Palm Beach, Florida for $4.4 million. And George just closed one in Cape Cod, Massachusetts for $2.2 million. So we can go all over the spectrum. I would say our average loan size is about $750,000.
And we currently are lending in New Hampshire, Southern Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Florida, but we're also looking at deals in Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, all over. If a deal makes sense, we do have the flexibility to consider it both in size and location.
George, it was great to hear about everything EMCAP is doing, and I think EMCAP's the route I want to take and get in this real estate market. What do I do next?
First, you should visit emcaplending.com, where we have a 30-second pre-qualification and we can quickly vet a deal for you. Or you could get in touch with us easily through our phone number, 833-56-EMCAP, and one of us will get back to you as soon as we possibly can.